All right. Hi, everyone. I hope you're having a great Friday. And I know it's a huge shock to see me here. And I have an explanation. I want to get back into, doing my Sims 4 content for you all. And that starts with, showing myself in the camera and then more challenges, more building, and, just really exploring with the Sims. And I was busy throughout the year and I told you all about that, but now I'm settled and I'm ready to get back on the horse, metaphorical horse. I don't know. I'm ready to keep going, and so this is my way of doing that. I know we're still doing the community homes, newly built community homes, and this is no different. This is another build for that community, and I had a lot of fun doing it. I'm going to explain later on in the build, so I won't give too much off. I really hope that you all enjoy it. It's up on the gallery already, so go ahead and check that out if you haven't already. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. That way you can see all of the new videos that are going to come up with all the new content. And, I'm going to be in more of the videos, like me actually. I mean, I'm always in the videos, but like my face and everything. With that, I think it's a perfect time for us to just go into the speed build. So let's go. I haven't come up with a name for this, so I'm still trying to figure that part out. But it'll still be up on YouTube, so I'll figure out the name soon. And you're able to download all of it under the description in the gallery. It has all of the amenities to all of these homes, and so if you don't actually want to go watch the video, you can always look at the gallery description there to figure out what's all in the rooms. And so for this one, I actually made it so that I was like a family of four, and they enjoy to have their grandparents over or whatnot, and that's why there's a guest room. And they're kids, so that's why we have the kids slash playroom or whatever. And we can say they actually use that as a nursery before turning the other two rooms into their children's rooms, and that's why that is there. And they also really needed a office, so they just put two and two together and didn't want to let go of the movie theater, so that's why we have that there. And I really think everything turns out pretty nicely. It is my first time actually adding a movie theater into a home, especially for one that is like kind of suburban, which I wouldn't think to have a movie theater in there. But I didn't want to make like another office or a crafting room, because if you seen the last two videos, I just had an entire crafting home, like a home that's built for a crafting family. And I was like, that might be overkill, so I don't end up doing that. But there's also a designated laundry room that's off the bathroom from the garage. And yeah, I think this all looks really nice. There's a nice hallway coming from the garage into the main space, so there's like, it's not like straight into everything, but there's that. We have a back porch, and that's where we have also a barbecue set, a dining table. There's a lot of space in the backyard if you want to add anything. I really just use some of the things from season. So we have the swing, some of the balloon things, like water balloon things that you can add, and a sprinkler system, things like that. And that was about it. I know I added some of the garden things to the other home, so I didn't really want to add it to this one. And because they are a busy family, I didn't think gardening would be one of the things that they do, so I do end up changing that out. And right here, I'm actually not furnishing much. I'm furnishing the kitchen, but everything else, I'm just laying it down so that I can come back and really know where my thought process was with building everything. I do end up changing the color scheme of the entire thing, not the kitchen, that actually stays the same, but everything else is fairly different. And we go with a dark blue, white, gray, and yellow slash gold kind of thing. It do ends up turning out really great for this living space. And the formal dining room is black and white, and that's why no one ever eats in there is what I thought. And so you can go ahead and go with that, or you can change anything up, and all of these are really up for you to change the color scheme. You can really change anything and just like download it unfurnished if you'd like. But yeah, so I really hope you like it. It's up in the gallery. Like I said, I hope to have, I think I want to keep going with the community home builds, but I think there's only one more in this community that I'll do, and then we'll move to another neighborhood in Newcrest with a different color scheme for the outside, different metrics, all that good stuff. And I think it's going to turn out really nice. I'm actually really happy about how this playlist is turning out. So as we're going in, I am just setting the basis for everything that I wanted to add in. And so now that I've done that, I'm going in and actually, furnishing everything. The first thing that I started to work on was the living room, and this is where I saw those chairs, and I think it came with the paranormal stuff pack, and I like it in that shade blue, so I just went for that. And then I ended up using that couch, but I do change it to be white, and I find a rug that I used, I think it's in the cabin build a few ways back. I'll link it here so that you can see it, and it's the blue and white one. It looks like it would have been in the pack for Snowy Escape, but I do end up using it here, and I like the way it looks. I use a fireplace, 2 end tables on the side of it, and we do have a flat screen TV. It's not very big, but it works for the space, and since we do have a movie theater on the second level, I do just go ahead and use that. I think it all turns out really great. I know I have said that a few times, but I really like this one. It's fairly different than the other ones, and I think it definitely works for the community and also for the type of Sims that I thought would be living here. So I do end up going to do that. I used 2 of those bookshelves and just put them together because I wanted to add a little bit more space. And so this is where I used that. And I like the layout of this living room. I definitely wanted to do something different. It's very easy to do the same living room like in different builds, and I didn't want that to be the case for this, because it's just like you add a couch, you add an end table, add a TV and a fireplace. Cool, great. And so I didn't want that to be the case for this one, and so I changed it up a little bit. I do end up using those chairs as end tables that we got from the high school years pack, and I do end up thinking that it looks pretty cool. Towards the end, when I was taking screenshots or whatnot, I did have to take away the things on top of those end tables / chairs because it did not look great at all, but I do still leave those chairs in. So those are still there, just the decorations on top are not there. Okay, so here we are. I am adding in some more decorative pieces in the living room and adding some things to the breakfast nook. We have a few more paintings that I added here, but I do use the one that came with Dream Home Decorator, and then I use the plant option that came with, I think, Eco Lifestyle, and that's when I'm adding in the radiator that came with all the other houses. I do use new bushes, and I saw those in Debug, so those aren't in any of the other homes, but I felt like this was a nice addition because it's fairly different than the other ones, and so that's just another way of making the whole thing unique. And so now I'm moving into the formal dining room, and I do end up using the cases that came with, I think that is base game, and adding some things to make it a little bit more unique, because you use one of them and they all have the same dishes, they all have the same photos, and so adding in the plates from Parenthood, the plates from Snowy Escape, and then a few decorative pieces from Dream Home Decorator just to break up the space a little bit. And then I used those plants from Seasons, and I like that plant. It's just the tree is just so huge, it actually just took up so much more space than I was willing to admit, and I had to size one of them down, and it ends up looking really great. We end up using the black, white, gray ish thing, and I add 2 paintings in there that you do end up seeing in the hallway and the living space as well, but I think it turns out pretty great. And then from there I move into the owner suite, and I did like the idea of using that headboard. I do not like that bed from base game, but that is the most palatable swatch, and so I do go ahead and use that, but I end up changing the whole thing out, and so this bedroom ends up being gray, black, and white towards the end. I did end up finishing this build, so after this one I think I do end up doing the rest of this on stream. So I'm back to streaming on Twitch. It's under LynzloByChoice, and I have the link down in the description box, so you can check that out. And I'm doing it every Wednesday. It's kind of like a sushi and Sims session kind of thing, so you can check that out if you'd like to. I just started it this past week, and so I plan to do it every Wednesday. And then once I'm in the groove of streaming again, then we'll add more days. But I think Wednesday, starting out there, is great. So yeah, go ahead, grab some sushi, and you can chill with me for a little bit, and we can do a little bit more gameplay things. I definitely want to start doing that, but for right now, we're just building and having a great time. So definitely check that out every Wednesday. And then here we're moving into the movie theater, and so I have a mini fridge, we have an ice cream machine, popcorn machine, and I think that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 chairs, and that massive TV that we have there, and a few movie posters. I do end up changing the floor of that from that yellow orange that you see throughout the whole house to a red, because I felt like it just fit a little bit more. You can always change that out. I do end up using those curtains that came with Get Famous. I'm actually very, very surprised that I know where all these items are from. It's really just like, well, honestly, I really don't think those curtains are from there, but everything else I've been name dropping, and I'm very proud of myself. And so, as you can see here, I'm changing out the chairs. I do end up forgetting to change out that last one, but right before screenshots, I change it out. And so we were going with that dark blue, and I kind of just wanted that to flow into the kitchen. And so we used that. I used the shelves that came with Snowy Escape and adding some things on there, like the plates, those seasoning boxes. And yeah, I was thinking about adding in, another oven and everything just because, but I do end up not doing that, so I'm happy about that. And the kitchen is a little too small to have 2 ovens there, so I don't end up going with that idea. But this ends up being not so much of a cluttered kitchen, but a kitchen that looks, like people are actually eating and cooking and all of that good things. So I really hope you enjoy it. And again, you can definitely go ahead and add more things once, you move a family in and you get their characteristics and personalities, what they do and stuff. I have a few things here for skill building. Like for the children, there are those that board that came with the Scout after school activity, so you can definitely do that. We have mirrors for like acting and things like that. There's a computer in here. We have a lot of kids creative things there, a lot of toys and stuff. So like I said, this is for 2 children and 2 sim adults, so there's not at all, I don't think anything for toddlers, but it can go from child to teenager, and then replacing the kids half of that kid's office kind of thing to just an office where everyone can do work, get work done for school, things like that. So this is where I was really just scoping the entire thing, and I'm almost certain I was in stream at this point and adding, different paintings in and things. And so this is where that begins. I do end up using some of the things from the Everyday Clutter kit, and I do end up loving the way that looks. I do change out those end tables to be ones that are more, I think, raw in terms of material, so I don't end up using the base game ones. I'm not sure what pack that came from, but I do end up enjoying, the way that this looks, even though it's very dark, and I'm certain that I've done a room similar to this before. But I do end up changing a lot of things out from the original look. I do love this bed, and so I think I end up using it. Yeah, I do end up using it in that dark blue swatch, but this is the only blue that you'll see in here, I believe. I don't think I add much else outside of that. I do use the couches here that came with the, I think it's My First Pet stuff pack. Yeah, I think that's what that is. And so that's where I'm changing those end tables and then adding in a few more things on the back wall. It's kind of like an accent wall without it being an accent wall, and then I'm changing a bunch of things, and I think it ends up going with this, but I was thinking about changing it so many more times, and I just edited the footage out of there because it was not helpful, because I didn't end up using it in the end. And so I make it an L-shaped couch because I didn't really know what to do with the other side, because there is a closet in the bathroom. but I do end up doing that and then adding a mirror, and I do end up using the end table. I think that came with one of the kits that was for free. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but that's what I end up using. And I add a painting where that mirror is now, so it does not look like how it is now. I add a plant, like a small plant, some boxes, I think, and then that's about it for this one. I do come back in a little later thinking that I can add some more things, but I don't end up doing it. And then the landing way upstairs I think looks really great. It turns out looking like, you know, you could just sit there for a second and then go about your day. And so that's really what I was going for. The entire suburban thing, or suburban decor items, is really what I was going for in this build, and I feel like it's definitely reflected. So let me know what you think in the comments. Also, I'm really happy about, you know, the way this turns out. So yeah. Okay, so there we go. I did not even think that I actually used the decor piece that I just put in there, but I do end up using it in the formal dining room, as you've seen. But by this time it was the second day that I was doing it, so I don't remember. So you go ahead and change it if you want to, but I feel like they both look great. And so this is where I'm just adding some things in for the laundry room, a bunch of things that came with the laundry day pack, and then the parenthood pack, and just some other small stuff that I end up adding. Yeah, at first during the stream I was having this kind of this mental block about what I could place, and then someone was like, you know, you can't rush creativity. And that's so right, because as soon as I started letting go of me trying to finish it before the end of the stream, that's when everything just started falling into place. I was picking up items that I haven't really used in building lately, and it ended up turning out to be a beautiful process. And we will be coming up on screenshots soon, but I really like the way those turned out. I do end up using that plant, and I think that came from the stuff pack the kit for the plants. And so I like the way that turns out. I wanted to add another plant on the other side, but I felt like that was overdoing it, so I don't end up doing that at all. And this is one, like I said, I ended up finishing the formal one first, but everything else I just kept coming back to because I felt like the kitchen wasn't cluttered enough. So I do end up changing that out a lot. But towards the end, like I said, it's not very cluttered, but it looks like people are, you know, cooking in there, doing what they need to do in there. So I do end up liking the way that turns out. I changed that espresso machine that's right next to it over to the side. So yeah, I do end up changing that. And this is where I'm using the mugs. And then I use the thermoses that came with Snowy Escape. I feel like it definitely worked because, you know, espresso machines, coffee, things like that. You get the point. And this is where I'm adding in a few more things up at the landing area. I do add that. And then I was thinking about adding another wall decoration, and I do end up using the one from Eco Lifestyle again. And then I use a base game couch, a Eco Lifestyle rug, or no, I think it's a Nifty knitting rug that I end up using, one of the custom ones, and then something from Tiny Living. And so it's just like, you know, just very small. It's not meant for you to stay there, but just like a resting place for a second. And yeah. And so this is where I'm moving into the kitchen, or not the kitchen, the kids room / office. And so I have this small little office thing, and this is where that clutter kit really came into play. And so I'm just adding a few things there, and I also added toys everywhere because I feel like although it's designated to one side of the room, you know, it would end up being everywhere. And so I really conveyed that there by just adding some on top of the desk. And this is where I add in that board for the scouts thing, the after school activity. And yeah, I add some crafts over to the side, and then we're moving right into the guest room. This one is actually yellow. I do end up using paintings that I saw on the gallery, and I end up going for those two ones. When I say using paintings from the gallery is an ultimate game changer, every time I go in and try to use a different color scheme, use a different palette or different items, I definitely see myself going to the gallery for mini paintings because they have so many that actually look more elegant. They don't look very boxy, but they're far from looking like they're alpha CC, and I like that. I mean, I can go for some alpha CC, when my entire game is on that or when my entire build is on that, but when it looks like it's Maxis match, then I like that. And so this is like a calm medium, and so that's what we go with. And you can see we have some yellow accents. We go with yellow, white, and a tan-ish color, and that kind of goes into the bathroom as well with a gold yellow lining on the mirror. That's about it though. You can see there is a closet in there. It's not functional. When I was streaming, chat and I decided that it's not that important. So if you do actually want to have that closet be functional, all you have to do is just switch sides, and so they can actually go in and use it. During a map playtest, that's when I found out that I couldn't use the closet, but I did find out that you can actually shave your Sims, like have them shave facial hair or whatnot, and I didn't know that was a thing, and apparently that happened when we got the high school years pack, and so I've just been building so much, I didn't actually know that that was functionality, and apparently it can grow, and if they have like funky hair colors, like the purple or dark blue, then their body hair and facial hair will actually grow that purple or blue, which I think is really cool, but as we mentioned, it was probably an oversight for the Sims team. So yeah, that's a thing. So now we know that I definitely have to get more into building and, not building, but, gameplay and stuff. And then right now we're moving right into the last two rooms, which are the kids rooms, and I decided the color scheme would be blue for one, so blue, and it's a little bit more darker, and then the other one is brown, orange, red, and yeah, brown, orange, and red, and a little bit more pink-ish, but not a lot. I figured that they were writers or really into their schoolwork and really enjoyed that aspect of school, so it's not a lot of play items. We have a tablet in here though, and I think it ends up turning out really great. I do end up using some of the clutter stuff that came with high school years. I add a bookshelf. We have that chair from City Living, and then I do end up using that curtain that came with high school years. So I like this room, but out of the two, I like the clutter corner on this one, but I absolutely love the entire layout of the other one. So let me know which one that you all like, because I'm kind of torn. I definitely wanted, certain items in each one, but I do end up liking the way this one looks. It definitely gives off more of a kid-ish vibe here. It's very all over the place. We have lots of boxes. There are clothes everywhere. Like, this is very childlike, it has the laundry basket, but then dirty clothes right next to the laundry basket, not actually in it, which makes sense to me. And then I add in the mirror that came with Discover University and some end tables that came from, I think that is Parenthood. I believe it's Parenthood, but correct me if I'm wrong. And, I think this goes great. This is actually the first room that actually just uses shades and not actual curtains. And I actually love that, that rug, but it actually was too small, so I used two of them next to each other. And here we are in the final stretch going into the Jack and Jill bathroom, and we're just fixing up a lot, adding a lot of clutter. We use some things from Parenthood, we have some base game things, but I definitely wanted to add a little bit more contrast into what we're seeing and having it flow into the bathroom on their side of the counters. And so this is where we see that, and I'm low-key finding things that I can put into the garage, because I realized at this point I hadn't touched the garage at all and a few other things. So I'm just really looking as I'm furnishing this to what I can find, and then adding in a few more things of decoration, some things I might have missed. And I do end up understanding that I do miss the wallpaper in the Jack and Jill room, so I add that. The tile ends up being the same one that I changed in the kitchen, and I like the way that that looks. We end up going into the landing area here as soon as you get upstairs, and this is where I'm changing all of those things, adding a few more paintings. I've already changed, you know, the top to be just one piece there. And yeah, I go into the backyard, add a few more things there. That's where I add in the swing, the sprinkler, fixing this in the hallway from the garage, and then adding in those things there. I ended up going with a gray instead of a black because I didn't want it to be so dark that you wouldn't be able to see that it is, you know, a shelf and not, you know, just a storage space, which it is, but it's a shelf nonetheless. And I felt like using that gray would just make it a little bit more distinct. And so I add those. I use 2 bicycles on the other side of this car, and I add in those there. I'm not sure. I think that came from Snowy Escape, but I changed it to gray, and then I use the cubby kind of thing that came with Seasons. And so that's what that ends up looking like. If you want to, you can go ahead and add a car there too, or you could just kind of clutter that entire thing up. Really, I feel like any one of those options would be great, but I just left it there just in case you wanted to add anything. And yeah, this is really how it turns out. I do have a small video at the end that kind of displays like what you're doing when you're walking in first person and how to, you know, get to all of the rooms, so you can check those out as well. And we're going to be coming up on screenshots soon, so yes, let me know if there's anything that you would like to see on here in terms of the community homes or any builds in general. I'm definitely open to suggestions. And yes, so you can go ahead and download this on the gallery if you'd like. And I hope you all have a great rest of your week, going into the new week and enjoying your weekend. And I will see you all in the next video. Enjoy the screenshots. Bye, everyone.